there, it's Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to skip right into two extremely quick, simple, and fun cards to make today. So I have a piece of copy paper. This is just really thin printer paper. I have just cut it down to a slightly more manageable size and then folding it in half so that I can cut pretty much a circle. Now I definitely find that long bladed scissors for this, I can kind of get more sweeping, larger, smoother cuts with long bladed scissors rather than a short blade where I kind of take little choppy cuts. I tend to get a much smoother cut if I have long bladed scissors. These ones happen to be the Holtz long bladed scissors, which I love. And I'm obviously cutting out a balloon shape here, so this is an extremely simple balloon shape, but it didn't turn out too badly. And now to adhere this down, to use this as a stencil or a mask, I am just going to use some removable adhesive. This Tombow removable adhesive is my absolute favorite. I've tried others and I keep coming back to this one because this one is perfect in my opinion, and it just rubs off really nicely with your finger once you're done. And don't get me wrong, you could definitely use masking paper or any kind of masking thing here. It doesn't have to be a piece of copy paper, but this is just a nice, cheap, simple way to create the mask. And of course, you could also do any shape. A love heart shape would be really cool too, or nice big oval shapes, or several of these on one page would look cool. But today, I am keeping it insanely simple. Now, I got this idea because my pencil was sitting here. This is just a mechanical pencil, and it has the rubber on the end like most of them do, and that is what I'm going to use as my stamp, I guess, today. Now I pulled out some kind of cooler colors actually. So the first one here is going to be Minty Fresh. This is the Simon Hurley dye ink range. Then I'm moving on to Clear Skies, and honestly you can do this with any inks. It doesn't matter which inks or which ink pads that you have, these are going to work obviously. All I do is in between I just wipe it off on a little baby wipe or a damp cloth so that I'm not contaminating each color into the next, and it comes off perfectly fine because these are water reactive inks, so it means that they're coming off fine and there's no transfer of color at all. But if you have a stamp that does this, then excellent. If you have a little round dot, often lots of stamp sets will have extra little stamps that just fill up spaces and things, and you may find one that's going to work well for this technique. But I'm just going for the eraser end of my pencil today, and it is working perfect. So I'm making sure to go a little heavier down the bottom of the balloon, and then kind of leaving some empty middle space, but I also want to make sure that I have a really good outline. So it's important to kind of get lots of your dots and circles that go just between your mask and where your paper meets, so you get a really nice crisp line and a defined edge. Now this is the Curly Greetings stamp set from Woodware. I am simply going to stamp Happy Birthday smack bang in the middle of my balloon in some VersaFine Onyx black ink. You could go as bold or as beautiful as you want to go here. It doesn't really matter. Then when I pull off the mask, that's my favorite part because you see that gorgeous reveal, and then I just have a fine liner black pen, and then this is going to wrap around and create a little string coming off the balloon, a little loop-de-loop string. This is a very simple card, and my daughter was doing this alongside me. She created about 3 of these and just really loved the very simple process, and that you can mix so many different colors. And this card took me way less than 10 minutes to make, so easy peasy. Now I'm going to move on to a second really simple card. I am just going to block off a little kind of square, it's almost a little bit rectangular shape on my card front here. This is not an entire card base like the last one, this is just a card front. So this measures at the moment 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, but I will end up cutting it down just a little bit. Now I did not measure here at all with my mint tape, which is that low tack tape, which is perfect for masking things off. And then I'm going to take one extra piece here, which I'll put aside just for a minute, that will help me in a minute. Prom Queen, Guppy, and Traffic Cone, which is basically a dark pink, an orangey, and then kind of a reddish color. These inks were out on my desk. These are the Simon Hurley dye inks, and then from the very top here I'm just doing some kind of light blending with a finger dauber. Now you'll see I actually have a scrap piece of paper to the right of me, and I do like to test out my finger daubers before I come straight into the paper, because often I do not know how much ink is on them before I kind of start off, and I would hate for there to be a big blob. So just to make sure I kind of know and control the amount of ink that I'm about to put down, I generally just have a little scrap piece of paper to the side of me. Of course you could turn that into a whole other project, but for me this is just a scrap today. And then I am doing all different widths, and I'm just using that little mask, the same one over and over again, and then I'm going to pop down some little pieces to get a little bit of masking, different widths in between them. And you can see I'm even blocking the one before it, so I don't actually know the widths that I'm doing, but just doing some really light blending and kind of fading it out. So no real technique here, honestly, just some light blending and then move down, light blending, move down. And of course you could use a million color schemes to go with this, and this is just going to create a really simple card as well. But I do love the finished look of this one. It took me slightly longer than the last one, but still a pretty short amount of time. And then of course everybody's favorite part about creating these cards is the reveal when we take off all of the low-tech tape. So this is the perfect low-tech tape. I have tried many, and this one is my favorite because I can almost guarantee that this is not going to rip my paper, and that is so important to me once I've put in the time and effort to create a project. But I do like pulling it right back on itself. See, I'm pulling it almost directly back on itself. I don't kind of pull up, I pull right backwards, and that also helps with any low-tech tape that you're using as well. Now here I decided to add something. I'm going to take the Tim Holtz design ruler. This has a metal edge for when you're using a craft knife cutting against it, and it is also zero-centered ruler, which helps when I am measuring things that weren't originally measured. So I'm just trying to get the middle and putting a tiny little slice near the end. Now you definitely don't have to do it like this. I'm going to add some ribbon to this little box here, but you could just add it on top and not have to thread it through. For whatever reason, I decided I just wanted it to be right through, threaded right through, and have that look today. So that's why I'm putting some little cuts in the card with the craft knife. Now I have a little piece of foam underneath there, and that's just to make sure that I don't get my tabletop. I have some white, this is just some white satin ribbon. I just need a little bit of this, and I'll use a little bit again in a moment. And then I am just going to kind of thread this through, push it through with my craft knife, and then on the other side of this I have some double-sided tape that I will pop down just to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere in the meantime. Just to let you know that I will put links to any of the products that I have used in today's video in the description box below this video on YouTube. However, pretty much everything there, if you have been crafting for even a short amount of time, you will probably have something in your stash that you are going to be able to make work for both of these projects, because they do not involve many supplies at all, which is always a really fun change. I love doing really kind of complex and intricate card designs, not too complex, but a little bit more, take a little bit more time. But it is really nice to come back to these extremely simple ones and just kind of get back to basics and not take a really long time to create cards as well. Now I had this twine sitting there beside me, and I decided that that top pink one actually went really well with the prom queen color that we used. So I'm going to double this up with some of the same white ribbon, create a little bow to go up the top, and then I'm just going to kind of fuss and fiddle around with this till I get the bow looking pretty good for the top. I need to make sure it's relatively small so it doesn't overwhelm the box, and I just thought that extra little pink piece of twine in there added a little something to it as well. Then I'm just going to cut off the edges so that they have a little kind of fishtail, and make sure that it's not too long and won't come over the sides of my card as well. Now, if you have been inspired by this video today, I would love to see your creations and your versions of this. So we have a fantastic community over on our Facebook group. We are so lucky. It is called Come Crafting with Natasha, and I would love to see your makes and creations over there. So there will be a link to that in the description box below too. Otherwise, you can just search for us on Facebook. Then I have the exact same greeting that I used before, and I wanted to use the same one just that you can kind of make really easy comparisons to see how it can be used in different ways. I decided, instead of putting the greeting up the top or the bottom, that I would do one up the top. So I've got the happy up the top, and I'm just stamping that out in the VersaFine Onyx black ink. And then I'm going to pop the birthday down the very bottom, and this is kind of where the card all starts to come together. At this point, the card has been trimmed down so that it is 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and that will leave a nice little border. I've got some foam tape on the back there, so this is going to give it a little bit of dimension. Make sure I've got the card the right way around, because there's nothing more painful than putting your card front down the wrong way and then figuring it out later. I'm using some Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish, which is what's inside that glue bottle. And I use that glue because I know that even if some squishes out the side, it is going to dry completely matte, and that might happen because I just squished it there behind the bow, and it is a really, really strong glue, so it's not going anywhere. These are my 2 finished cards for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I really, really look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye!